All right, well, good evening, everyone. We do have a quorum. I know it looks like Mr. Bertie's coming in now. I know member Mr. Hughes is out, possibly going to make the meeting, but we'll jump right in. Thank you for those who joined us. And included in the board docs was the presentation for the 2018 tax rate hearing for Valdosta Public Schools. I'm going to move through this in the same format that we've used for the last 3 years, and I'm going to move through the first part of that a little bit quicker, and then at the end will be the new content that we really want to focus on this year. So I'm going to move through. If you have any questions, feel free to jump out, and this is a public hearing, so we can take comments from the public as well. So public notice was posted around the district and shared it out via social media to notify our public of this hearing. The purpose is to review information concerning the assessed valuation of the school district, the proposed levy for 2018, and the revenues that are anticipated through the proposed levy. Again, citizens may comment concerning the tax levy, which will be officially set by the Valdosta Board of Education during the open session of the meeting directly after this hearing. Here's a copy of the publication that was posted throughout the community and sent through social media. And this is a zoom in of that information. Assessed valuation for this year is as listed. We're up about $2 million on assessed valuation, which is one of the larger increases in the last decade, so we're pleased with that. Included in that is new construction of $1.454 million, which we anticipate will generate around $46,000 in new revenues annually. The proposed tax levy for 2018 is in the general fund 3.1566. Again, for the second year in a row, we're proposing a capital projects fund of this year I'm doing the 1 cent just so we can access that additional county level road and utilities funds for a total levy of 3.1666. If that wasn't a calculated levy, I would have changed to 666, but bring that to the You need levy details for 2018. Again, for the second year in a row, we want to place a small amount of that levy into Fund 4 to try to access that locally assessed road and utilities money that you can only access through levy in Fund 4. This will complement the district's recent and current efforts to accumulate surplus funds in Fund 4. This is the tax rate history back to 2002, 2003. You can see that we were hold harmless, probably for the history of the school district, all the way up to 1213. At that time, the district voters passed the levies of 75 cents to increase up to $3.50, and we held that for 2 years. But then the pipeline that came through generated new local revenues, which caused our levy to drop back down due to the handicap amendment. So we're sitting at about 1.3 cents higher than we were last year. And looks like we're going to stabilize around that, maybe with some slightly upward trends. These levies do come in July, and every year prior is adjusted, so we get our final adjusted tax rate. Again, assessed valuation history. We can look down through kind of what has happened in the last several years. We're sitting at $63,430,784 as our total assessed valuation, up from $61,365,262 last year. Then I just threw in impact aid revenue just to kind of keep this in perspective. We're looking at significantly between 5 and 6 million consistently in our impact aid revenues. When you compare that back to what we're getting on our local property taxes at 2 million, and you can show the importance of that impact aid funding. Reserve balances ending the fiscal year 18 were 11,343,832. We're anticipating that we will be around 11.8 million at the end of 18-19. Last year, we did continue to move those reserve surplus funds out of Fund 1 over to Fund 4. We ended the year last year with final transfers, pegging our reserve percentage in Fund 1 at 35%, and we're going to continue to try to hit that 35% target for moving forward until such time that different directive is provided by the board. Now that 35% does reflect what the state considers to be a healthy and safe reserve fund in Fund 1. So that's the bullets of what we've seen in the past. Tonight, again, I wanted to take a little bit of extra time to go over a couple of things, and this is primarily to ensure transparency. From the last 2 or 3 meetings, I've talked to the board about what's going on with impact aid, and I just want to kind of anchor this here in the tax rate hearing, just to make sure that we're transparent and communicating clearly. Before we do that, it's highly probable we are eligible this year for impact aid. It's highly probable that we will maintain eligibility through the use of additional factors, which is provided for in the impact aid law. But there are some new things that are definitely posing some new considerations and effort on maintaining that eligibility. As we know, as I just said, we received very strong supplemental funding from impact aid to replace the local tax revenues that would be earned from people living in the district. Those people living on base that are not current residents, do not pay local property taxes. Their effort is supplanted by impact aid. So that is the function of that program. Again, we're around 5.5 million is what we're anticipating this year. And the issue that I want to bring to light tonight is the issue again that we've talked about the last couple of meetings, and that is impact aid historically has allowed both Waynesville and Knob-Noster to include their Prop C money in our local effort. Prop C is a sales tax that's generated at the state level that offsets local property taxes. So in the past, we've been allowed to use that funding. This year, they changed and said that we would not be allowed to do that. So we're going to go down the additional factors route moving forward to maintain that eligibility. And this specifically applies to the heavily impacted funding. There are about 30 school districts in the nation that are heavily impacted as of this fiscal year. And in order to be eligible for that B2 funding, the district must demonstrate at least 95% of what is considered an average effort for local average levy for local effort. So we are barely at that 95% at this point with that Prop C funding removed. So that puts us in a little bit of a new era with impact aid. We are again, we're working with them. The other thing that we want to point out is that 95% is based off that levy that was pushed back by the Hancock Amendment. So our approach with impact aid is going to be to continue to argue Prop C, but also to argue the Hancock Amendment and what is listed as locally assessed railroad and utilities, but originally that was called centrally assessed railroad and utilities. And what we're wanting to do with that argument is say that, you know, our voters put forward a 350 levy. Because of a state law, it was automatically rolled back. But those local revenues are still coming in from local property that is centrally assessed. So we're going to have that conversation with impact aid in September, and probably will take representatives back out from George K. Baum to help us work on that. I feel confident Waynesville, their new intel is that they're finding a path with using additional factors to maintain that eligibility. We are in substantially better shape than where Waynesville is. So I I'm cautiously optimistic, but again, wanted to share that. And again, the board has heard this 3 times now, but I wanted to anchor that into our tax rate too. I kind of got a slide ahead. This is a written narrative on what we're doing. We held a meeting back in June with Impact Aid to bring these issues to light. Our congressional delegation has met with Impact Aid to argue and try to ask for better rationale on that change on Prop C. No change was granted, but I will tell you they're acutely aware of what's going on. Number 3 is the additional factors, including the Hancock Amendment and those centrally assessed utilities that we'll be using. And then, the bottom line is if for some reason we're not able to maintain that eligibility, it will definitely put us in a position where we need to go to our voters to increase that levy. I think our voters will understand that through ongoing communication. It's a little bit of a cumbersome conversation to have, but I think we can, as we approach that point, if we need to, we can break that out very clearly. The next slide is a new slide for the board, and it looks like it's, I don't know if you guys can see that, but we pulled, I did something a little bit different this year. I pulled all of the 2017 tax rate comparisons for Johnson, Henry, Lafayette, and Pettis counties, so the 4 districts surrounding Whiteman Air Force Base. I also added in the all of the MRVC schools, as well as I think Warsaw was the last school that we've been using in our comparative data. So we ended up with a cohort of 32 school districts, and then I rank ordered where we were in the list in terms of our local effort. And out of those 32 districts, Navajos ranked 31st as having the second lowest tax rate. So that is not the cohort that we are using with Impact Aid. We use a different kind of cohort. But if you look at, from a layman's perspective, the John Q taxpayer who lives in one of those 4 counties or in the MRVC, you can look at where our tax rate is compared to those other 31 school districts and see that it's very low, comparatively speaking. The other thing that I would say is, based on the last review that you guys have seen on our annual performance report for the last couple of years, the board is aware that Navajos' academic performance is at the top of the list. So for our taxpayers, the message that we want to stress is that they're getting a very good return on their investment, very low tax rate, very high academic achievement. We're going to move through this very carefully, but it definitely was something that I felt the need this year to highlight for the board and kind of let you guys know where we sit. Financial forecast, in conjunction with this proposed tax rate, Impact Aid, and other anticipated revenues and receipts, the district should expect healthy reserve funds, near 4 months reserve at 35% for FY19. The proposed budget also calls for reserve funds of around $6 million accumulating in Fund 40, and the approved budget is anticipated to operate as a balanced budget with those excess funds accumulating in Funds 10 and 40. The takeaway talking points again, assessed valuation is up and total local revenue is up. The Navajos School District tax levy is among the lowest in Johnson County and all other surrounding counties. The local tax levy and local tax effort is a key factor in protecting eligibility for B2 Impact Aid funding, and it must meet that 95% threshold requirement. The final FY18 Impact Aid payment was delayed, and it is reflected in the anticipated funds for, that should say, FY19. And the last point is, again, we continue to lead the region in our annual performance report, and we're excited about what we're able to demonstrate to our taxpayers in terms of return on their investment. And that concludes the tax rate hearing.
Are there any comments? Are there any comments? Okay, I need a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. If you are joining us for our board meeting, would you please remember to sign in that way? Thank you. Okay, it is now 6 o'clock. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry, we will have a moment of silence as well. Thank you. Okay, well, thank you all for coming. I need a motion to approve the amended agenda. I second the motion. All in favor? Aye. Do we have any public comments on agenda items? Correspondence to the board? Okay, we got a card from Kathy Rudd. It says, during a time like this, we realize how much our friends and relatives really mean to us. Your expression of sympathy will always be remembered. Thank you for the flowers of remembrance for our mother, Kathy Rudd. We have a thank you card to all at Central Office and School Board. Time in retirement has a different rate of speed. However, taking time to say thank you does not. I wish everyone at KNR8 great success and a wonderful year. Above all, to say thank you to all the wonderful people working here. Ray Maxwell. Your kind expression of sympathy is deeply appreciated and gratefully acknowledged by the family of Bertie Allen. Thank you for the plans and all of your support at Dad's service. Roger and Tina, Mary Ann, Joe Ellen, Steve Elwell, and family. Okay, it is time for recognitions now.
We're going to start with our partners in education, and we actually have two groups of volunteers that have come in tonight that we love to recognize. And honestly, without their help, our extracurricular activities would not be where they are. So we truly appreciate the help and support of our non-master music boosters and our athletic boosters. First, for our music boosters, I mean, obviously, they do a lot of the things behind the scenes for our music program, even providing food and different supplies for our students as they go on different trips on the road for competitions. They sponsor scholarships for camps, not only scholarships for camps, but also for seniors that are going on to college. They help fund any additional things that arise throughout the school year that the music boosters or the band or the choir are looking to get. So we truly appreciate the work that they do, and I'll read off the names of each of those members to come as well. And then to our athletic boosters, obviously we've been to the games and taken part in the concession stands and all that they do there, but it's a behind-the-scene work that is truly the difficult part, and that's ordering the supplies and getting them in and making sure that everything is ready. Not only that, but these individuals stay behind there. They take your money, they cook for you, they do everything that is back there. They go out and get the volunteers that run the different programs as well for all the different sports. So we truly do appreciate the support of our music boosters, as well as our athletic boosters. And I would like to read off the names of our music boosters first. We do have a certificate for you. I'm actually going to give those to Ms. Tina Brandt at the end after I read off your names. So when I get done, if you'll please come up, we'd love to take a picture of you with the board and also our athletic boosters as well. So for the music boosters, we have Elizabeth Alderman, Dawn Binder, Becky Christensen, Leanne Gooding, Stacy Goodwin, Jared Grissom, Steve Hunter, Nicole Larkin, Christina Limbeck, John Logan, Bobby Stevens, David Stevens, and Rhonda Wyman. Let's give them a big round of applause. And then for our athletic boosters, we have Clint Judd and Nikki Judd. Let's give them a big round. We also have one more music booster, Jenny Barker.
Thank you. Do we have to take your advice?
All right. I'll take on your picture. Okay, thank you.
So our other recognition is, once again, our second edition of Phenomenal Panthers, second or third, I've actually lost count here. So, but our Phenomenal Panthers this month, we were trying to recognize a group of Don Luster High School students. And our first Phenomenal Panther is actually Dalton Mayhew. And so this summer, Dalton attended the Missouri Chamber of Commerce, and I'm going to read this so I get everything right here. The Missouri Chamber of Commerce Industry Leadership and Practice, say that 5 times fast, on June 24th and 27th. It was actually at the Westminster campus in Bolton. And the Leadership and Practice program provides young Missourians the opportunity to learn what it takes to be an effective leader in their schools and communities. Students learn how to successfully work together as a team, individually, and as a leader. Students also develop business plans for a new product or service and pitch their idea to a Shark Tank-like group of individuals. So Dalton and his team earned a 3rd place for their business plan entailing Uber services for parents to utilize in transporting their children. Let's give Dalton a big round. Our next 2 Phenomenal Panthers are Abigail Johns and Austin Holt. Abigail and Austin attended girls and boys state at UCM in June. Austin actually moved over the summer before our school year began, but we do have Abigail here tonight. I believe I saw her tonight. Yes, that's here back there. So the purpose of Girls State is really to promote pride in America and to create a state that citizens will govern a city, a county, and at state level. There are speakers who serve as leaders in Missouri government, as well as hold important offices in their communities. And Abigail actually held the office of mayor in her community of Carver City. And Carver City was named after, obviously, a famous Missourian, George Washington Carver. Abigail also ran for governor during her week at Girls State, recording her very own campaign commercial and giving a speech before the primary election. And she also competed in an executive college class at Girls State with the option to earn college credit. So let's give a big round of applause. And our final two students in the spotlight here in August are Kat Kowalty and Peter Stevens. So Kat and Peter actually attended S2S training with our new counselor at Mount Foster High School, Kimberly Mastery, who I believe is here as well. Welcome, Kimberly. This happened on July 23rd to the 25th. It was at Washington, D.C. during the MCEC National Training Seminar. And here at MCEC Student to Student program, it's a student-led organization that welcomes incoming students to the school, helps departing students prepare for their next school, and it eases transitions and creates a positive environment for our students. I was out at Whiteman Elementary today, and we had students for the junior S2S, which we have actually added here in these past 2 years at Mount Foster Middle School and at both of our elementaries. And those two students were actually helping two other students through the building today. I think we shared some of those pictures online today. So the program is working. We are really excited about it. So let's hear it for Peter and Kat.
Yeah, let's go.
Again, very proud students, we're very proud of you guys, and did a fantastic job representing our students. So thank you, and parents, nicely done with all of your work as well.
All right, thank you. Great. Principal and directors reports were online. Are there any questions? MSBA report.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Missouri School Boards Association's board report for the month of August. We thank you for the opportunity to share some news and information during a few minutes of your board meeting. We begin with a look at a new law that expands virtual learning options for students throughout Missouri. Under the law, school districts must allow students to take virtual courses offered by the district or by a vendor approved by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Students may take virtual courses even if the course is already offered by the school district. The school district must give credit to the student for taking the course and pay for the course, but the district can collect state aid on the student enrolled in a virtual course. A student would be allowed to take all of his or her courses virtually up to what would be equivalent to full-time attendance. MSBA Associate Executive Director Kelly Hopkins says the way students enroll in virtual courses must be consistent with the way they enroll in courses offered in the district.
So we can't have a special vetting process for students who want to take virtual courses. Instead, the law establishes a standard. And what that is? The standard is students may take a virtual course at the district's expense if they're a resident, unless the school district can show that it is not in the best interest of the student.
If the district denies a student the ability to take a virtual course, the student may appeal to the Board of Education and ultimately to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Hopkins says, despite some concerns with the law, virtual education has the potential to benefit students.
Virtual education has been an opportunity to do amazing things to enhance and supplement the education we provide children in our school districts. It really does. And I think the districts really do everything the law allows them to do in terms of monitoring and in terms of making decisions about students in virtual courses. It would turn out to be a good thing.
The virtual course law and many others become effective August 28th, but officials with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education tell us it will be following the existing rules for students interested in taking virtual courses for at least the first semester of this school year. A summary of all the legislation approved by the General Assembly and signed into law this year is posted on the MSBA website and the MSBA Action Center site. Registration is now open for the 2018 MSBA Annual Conference, to be held September 27th through the 30th at the Lake of the Ozarks. Here's a look at this year's conference.
I'm Mike Front, MSBA President.
I'm Rhonda Gilstrap, MSBA President-elect.
And I'm Melissa Randall, MSBA Executive Director. Now more than ever, we need strong board members advocating for all public schools and students in Missouri.
Professional development is critical to becoming an effective school leader. The 2018 MSBA Annual Conference provides so many of these essential opportunities.
There is valuable knowledge for board members of all levels. Whether you've just been elected and you're still fulfilling CBN requirements, or you're an experienced board member representing your district at Delhi, this is your chance to get so much of the essential information you need.
The general sessions feature nationally recognized speakers that inspire and educate. There are over 100 concurrent sessions to attend designed for your continuing education.
Of course, none of us can do it alone. Engage with leadership teams from other districts. Visit the trade show and membership reception. This is your chance to network with other board members and learn from each other.
And let's not forget the reason we do all of this, the students. See some of the best and the brightest that Missouri has to offer at MSBA Student Showcase College School Program.
The MSBA Annual Conference is the largest gathering of education leaders in the state. We need you there, so don't miss out.
This is your chance to get so much critical information over the course of just a few short days.
Public schools are consistently faced with new challenges.
Promise from MSBA is to develop leaders and be your trusted resource so we can rise to face these challenges on behalf of all of Missouri's children. Please take the next step. Register now and attend the 2018 MSBA Annual Conference.
Also, be sure your school board is represented at the MSBA Fall Delegate Assembly to be held on Friday, September 28th during the annual conference. This delegate assembly will be considering approval of the MSBA's advocacy positions document and will form the basis of MSBA's lobbying efforts during the 2019 session of the Missouri General Assembly. Delegates do not have to be registered for the annual conference in order to participate in the delegate assembly. And if your board's designated delegate cannot attend, you can send another board member to represent your board at this important meeting. As students, teachers, and staff are returning to begin a new school year this month, MSBA Center for Education Safety reminds school administrators it's a good time to review and revise your district's emergency operations plan. That document is the big picture plan for all responses to natural, accidental, and man-made emergencies, including weather, violent incidents, and other events that may not start on the school grounds, but could have an impact on the school day. Be sure to contact MSBA Center for Education Safety if you have any questions on emergency operation plans and other issues related to school safety. That's it for this month's edition of the MSBA Board Report. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and so long from Columbia.
Next up is superintendent report.
All right, I just want to follow up before I get into my report on the content of the MSBA report. When you look at that legislation that takes effect next week, I just want to make sure that everybody heard it clearly that Missouri students are now eligible to enroll in virtual education. And they can either do that through their local education agency, school district, or if we're not able to provide that, they can take a state-approved through DESE virtual course, and the district pays the tab for that. So new legislation, as the board is aware, or I think the board is aware, we've engaged over the last year or so with a new partnership through Edmentum for a program called the Malvern Academy. Their program is called Ed Options Academy. That's a virtual program that can be customized here. The course offering is very extensive, a couple hundred courses that our students can take. And the great thing about that program is we do have a lot of local autonomy with that, but it also offers up opportunities for our teachers to partner with Edmentum and go in and teach for them and actually get paid for that. So we're a little bit ahead of that curve, probably quite a bit ahead of most districts. Springfield School District, the largest district in our state, got ahead of this maybe 2 years ago and developed their own internal virtual program, which probably will end up being approved by the state and will end up essentially being open enrollment for servicing that. So we're trying to keep some of that influence local and also some of those jobs local to our teachers, and then still put the same opportunities in front of our students. And the last thing on Malvern Academy is we've written that into our fiscal year, our 2018 MCAS grant that we're still waiting to hear on. So if we do get successful funding on that, we will have additional funds that will actually help us bolster that program to get it started. So we're excited about that. Also, they mentioned the MSBA conference. I know Mr. Judd suggested he may be interested in going down. If you are, just let Mrs. Sussman know. We'll make arrangements. Go ahead. You may be staying at the Stony Stone Inn or something like that, but crappie fishing was good. And then the last thing on the SRO update, I know that's on the agenda item that we briefly discussed, and there's an upcoming meeting on September 12th, I believe, that I'll be attending before I report back to the board on direction on that. But the meeting is specifically focused on the different roles that an SRO can take within the district and how we can shape that. So I'm going to educate a little more before I come back to the board. All right, so into my report. The year's off to a fantastic start. It's hilarious. You go from radio silence the day before to that first afternoon, kids and teachers and drivers, sometimes I've never seen school bus before. It's about 30 to 45 minutes of a lot of fun chatter, and then by the next day, it dies off, and the third day, it's crickets. So always fun, but everything ran extremely smoothly. Mr. Coron, again, helped transport some of those kindergartners that ended up in the cafeteria instead of on the bus. We got them home, and we're happy to get everybody in. We really started out without incidents, and things ran smoothly. I do want to send some kudos to all of our principals for the job they did in making that first day of school great. I don't see Mrs. Stewart with us tonight, but I would send she was here? Well, I will publicly say they did a fantastic job with their back to school. Everything from a theme to a day before video iMovies of all of their teams, and it was really, really nice what they did out there. And it's maybe paying off because we had 100 students today, 100 kindergarten students out at White Elementary. So we're now at 6 sections out there, and a total of 10 kindergarten sections for this school year. So we're excited about that, and hopefully we'll keep seeing people enjoying going to school in Valdosta. Back to school PD went pretty well. We had a little more free time for teachers in their classrooms this year than normal, but things seem to go pretty well. Lots of positive comments on our first 3 days. We have around just over 30 new hires that came in for those additional 2 days, and included their new teacher training, which did again this year include the downtown scavenger hunt, which was a lot of fun again this year. The block party went well, and it was attended very well by students that did have to come inside the community this year because of weather. Just want to thank Ms. Donna Greidercheck for another fantastic park-led community block party this year. We enjoyed attending the 2017 Military Child Education Coalition National Training Seminar in DC last month, at which time the district was again able to tell our STEM story and to participate in 3 separate but connected initiatives sponsored by Northrop Grumman, the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, and Columbia University. So we're happy to tell our story. And then most recently, we had our volleyball jamboree last night. It went well. We had softball on Saturday. It went well with, I think, the team going undefeated. And then last Friday night, we had our football jamboree hosting Windsor, Trenton, and Louisiana Christian, and had a good showing there. So sports seemed to be off to a good start, and we did find out yesterday that we will be hosting the softball districts out of the conference. We're going to take that opportunity to invest a little bit of additional time, money, and effort out of the complex to try to get it shaped up on all corners. So we're underway with that work. Building attendance, we've got the comparative data for the start of last year and this year. We are down slightly at Valdosta Elementary. We're down slightly at the middle school, up about 12 students at the high school, and up about 70 students out at White Elementary, which is a great place to be up when it comes to impacting. District total last year was 1539. This year we're starting at 1573. And financially speaking, our balances at the end of June 30, all funds 13,448,840. Revenues for July 2,712,588, which was 15% of anticipated. expenditures were $600,903, which was 3.3% budgeted. In that revenue column was that makeup impact aid of about 1.8 million that was late being posted. So that number is inflated just a little bit, but we know that last year we were also late. So with the FY17 payment. So that's the report, and we'll entertain any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Wheeler.
Oh, one last thing, I want to go ahead and pass these around. These are your MRBC conference passes. I think it's going to be a great year to have a conference pass.
I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Need a motion to approve bills as presented, full board.
Make a motion to approve the bill.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. One abstention. Approval of boards requiring extensions.
I have a comment on this. We discovered yesterday that there was a bill that had previously was not pulled out for extension. Bill was actually to Dutch Country Market, and I want it to be noted in the records that we discovered that bill yesterday and immediately took action to correct that. There was a credit card purchase in the district to Dutch Country, which was in excess of $500. And when we discovered that, we immediately identified that was in violation of our board member ethics policy. I brought that immediately to the attention of board member Birchie, and he said, anything that's above that was unintentional, I was unaware, and anything that's above and beyond that, I will gladly donate to the district because it's my full intent to comply with policy. So for the record, we did identify that and immediately address that. That corrective action was passed by our school district attorney, Shelley Glenn. She referenced policy and confirmed that we had acted appropriately within the context of that situation. There were no concerns. Moving forward, we will re-educate our administrative team to revisit our board member ethics policy. It's our job not only to follow that policy, but to not let good intentions violate that policy. And I know we have a lot of good intentions to shop locally. We have a lot of good intentions by board members to support our school. And we have the best of intentions to do that within the realm of policy. So we will revisit that and make sure that we try to avoid any issue like this in the future.
Dr. Wheeler, I apologize for mistaking that. That was just an oversight on my part. I did not catch that. I should have. The rules are the rules, and I'm not okay.
Well, good intentions, and like I said, we've taken corrective action to address that. We are in compliance. And by the way, your very gracious donation of that amount above the threshold was very generous and showed your ongoing support of our school district. So thank you.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the bills requiring extensions. All in favor? Aye. Abstain? Need a motion to establish a school district property tax rate of 3.1666 for 2018 as presented.
Make a motion to
All in favor? Aye. Under old business, we have cell tower solutions results.
Just wanted to briefly follow up, earlier, back in the winter, the board approved to enter into an agreement with Cell Tower Solutions. The function of that, and by the way, Mount Western and every other school district in the county entered into that agreement, in coordination with efforts from our county assessor. And the function of that agreement was to hire an outside company with specialized expertise to come in and assess the amount of property that is essentially mounted and functioning on our cell towers throughout the county. They came in and did that for the entire county and broke that down by school district. And we're pleased that I can take this around. Got the breakdown in here of the towers that were assessed and what the value was on that. And when you calculate that out by our tax rate that was just set and the assessed value of that property. That one-time investment of $8,437 should produce around $42,000 in additional property taxes annually. So that proved to be a good venture, and frankly, we want to thank Henry County to the south of us for leading the way on that a couple of years ago and encouraging us to do the same. So I know that there was a question about how that will impact our overall revenues, and again, we anticipate that that's going to be new revenue and it won't be utilities. So that would be new additional revenue.
One quick question. The end of the first paragraph, that says this plan is to evaluate new located sites on an annual and biennial basis, capturing information. Are we having these costs at the end?
It would not be the same cost. If, say, a new tower comes up, we can reassess and bring them in to come and assess that. So it will not be an annual review. It'll be a one-time cost with potential lower costs to come in and assess the property. With as quickly, I didn't ask, but as quickly as equipment is changing and technology, we'll see where we are in a couple of years, 2-3 years. So with that ROI, even if we do it every 2 or 3 years, it should still be a good thing for us. That was informational.
Thank you, Dr. Wheeler. Okay, this will require an action. A motion to approve the purchase of 7 conventional gasoline buses for Midwest Transit Equipment at a cost not to exceed $566,162 is presented and in alignment with bid specifications.
I guess one of the questions I have here is going to be the bids that were presented. I mean, I know one appears to be considerably higher than the other. I want to know if we're comparing apples to apples on these buses as far as the higher bid has an 8.8 liter Power Solutions International motor. Anyway, I spent some time yesterday and today looking on the internet at these type of gas engines, and it appears that this 8.8 liter engine of Power Solutions is definitely a reliable, proven motor. At 320 horsepower anyway, is it the bid from Central Bus, or they did include the same exact engines? You know that answer?
I'm looking down, we have this is the Midwest Transit Equipment was the 8.8 liter Power Solutions International.
I know there's a fairly big discrepancy in trade-in value of these buses.
Yes, sir.
Have we made a decision on the trade-in side of things yet?
We have not, worst case scenario, we're going to probably get around 50,000, depending on the number of units we trade, but once we approve for the purchase, our intent is to go out and promote the direct sale of these buses to possibly other school districts or other transportation providers using the bids that were provided as a baseline. So we're going to try to get out to the market that exists and get the maximum return. And then at the end of the day, we're also going to debate with the purchase of 10 new units this year. We're going to debate, do we trade in 8, do we trade in 7, how many do we want to keep on hand? But some of those were, it's funny, some of the buses that we feel like we must need to get rid of as a liability are the ones that are bringing the best trade in. But we answered the questions that we were asked on those. But that's our intent. We have approximately 90 days of lead time to get that done. And once we decide, I'll come back to the board and ask for the board to formally surplus those items, and then we will move forward with the sale or trade.
So this is strictly the decision made tonight will be based on just the 7 buses being purchased.
Yes, not to exceed that amount. That was listed.
And that doesn't include the trade.
That is not, but any trade would reduce the net cost of those buses. So we're thinking we're going to be around 500. Oh, it'd be great to be around 500,000. We're probably going to be around 510, 515. And just for those of the audience that haven't been tracking this matter, this is doing some makeup purchasing for several years in which action was not taken to get a fleet that is maintained up to date. So this is what we foresee as a very big booster shot to get us back in order, and then we will move into the intent is to move into more of a normal routine rotation where we can purchase of 1 or 2 buses a year. And also this purchase was made with revenues that were received in the bank from impact aid that were above what was anticipated.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I make a motion to purchase the bus.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you. I think our community, parents, kids, and transportation team should be very pleased with what the board is doing to invest in that program and send a very clear message to our community that we are maintaining this program in-house so we can maintain more local jobs for our drivers that are better jobs with benefits. And I also want to say along those lines too, we've had about a half dozen of our employees. We sent out a kind of an altar call of sorts to our staff members, coaches, sponsors, and others, asking for them to come and join the transportation team and do some driving. And we got about half a dozen that have stepped up to do that. So that's going to give us some relief in terms of our trips and give us a little bit of flexibility. So just wanted to say thank you to those folks that stepped up. Dean says thank you too. And so does Mr. Cohen.
Multi-agency strategic collaboration facility plan. This is for discussion and information only.
Okay. So this was on the agenda and got set aside last month, so I'm excited to get this in front of the board and kind of walk through this. This plan essentially is in my professional opinion, as their superintendent, a plan that the timing is right, the energy and the momentum is right, and there's a lot of reasons for why we're trying to make this happen. The conversation that we heard from MSBA regarding virtual education, I'm going to go back to that for a minute. What that really means is our borders are being broken down virtually in our state. Missouri is one of a state with 540 some school districts. That is far more than what many states have that are our size. And when we look back at the last couple of years and movement towards breaking those borders down, looking at open enrollment, looking at vouchers, there's been a lot of effort to try to make that happen. And frankly, with the governor that was in place, it was happening very quickly. So we embarked upon trying to figure out what do we need to do as a school district to make sure that when open enrollment is, whether it's real or virtual, that we are on the receiving end of students and not on the sending end of those students. And when you think about how we're supported here in Alabama with our impact aid, we stand a lot of risk if we lose, especially our military connected students, because that impact aid to an extent will follow them. It will not follow them incomplete, but it won't stay here. So we have a risk of losing those students. We are very different than Waynesville when it comes to that situation. Waynesville is the large school district among many smaller districts in that region. We are a smaller district in between two larger districts. Both Sedalia and Warrensburg communities offer more amenities, more housing, more jobs down the street. So we saw this as, again, like virtual, something that we needed to get ahead of, and we started on a plan of how we could get that done. With 2 out of 3 of every one of our students being military connected, it would only seem fair to our taxpayers that we ask them to pay their proportionate share without more. So when we look at our ability locally to put in a proportionate share, we do not have the capacity to move forward on a facility. So we started looking at different ways that we can position the district to be on the receiving end. Academics are top in the region. Our sports are trending upward right now and doing well. We're offering great programs. The one thing that we probably don't compete very well is in regard to our facilities. There's a lot of talk about high school, but if you take a step back from that and look at what our middle school has, what really defines our middle school as a middle school when you compare to middle schools elsewhere? When you walk out back, there's a grass field, which is what most of us had when we were growing up. But there are a lot of students today that have quite different middle school experiences. Tracks, fields, sports complex, and things that really identify a middle school as a middle school. So that was one of the considerations going into this. The other big consideration was, what are the big pieces that we know that we really need at our high school that we don't currently have? We know our stadium has an aging turf. We have some stadium capacity issues. We have some Performing Arts Center has been something that's been mentioned regularly since I arrived in Alabama, and frankly is a pretty big need when we look at what the arts can bring to our kids. So we start adding up the whole of our needs. It becomes pretty clear that we need to decide if we stay on our current footprint or do we look at something different, and if so, how do we get there? So those were the premises that went into charting down this path to try to figure out what opportunities exist, what monies exist that we can access to bring into Alabama. So that's been 2-3 years of thinking in the works. For the last 2 years, both our current Secretary of the Air Force, Heather Wilson, as well as Deborah James before her, I've personally spoken to both of them, and they both have the same recurring message, and that is the quality of education is a readiness piece, it's a quality of life issue, and it's a front burner issue for the Air Force right now. That makes it a very good time for us to talk about our stories, talk about what we're offering here in Mount Oscar, and go forward with the ask for support and doing a collaborative project. So that sets the foundation. Again, this is 2 secretaries in a row that have made this a front burner item. Most recently, this memo that's included here was sent to the National Governors Association, basically saying, we are going to start assessing public education in terms of military readiness and where we're going to send our missions. So it's very much tied into mission retention, BRAC, as well as economic development. We have a forward that talks a little bit about the history of Mount Auster. We've done a very good job of supporting the B2 mission. We're excited that we may be a recipient of the B21 mission. And of course, we have other missions out there that we would like to receive on our end. And believe me when I say we're excited about that. Our leadership at the state level definitely wants to see those missions here in Missouri. I'll jump right into propaganda. Northrop Grumman seems to be the right person to ask for partnership. I'm pleased to announce that this plan has been in front of Senator Blunt. It's been in front of Vicki Hartzler, and next Thursday we will have this in front of our governor here in the state, asking for their support. We received verbal support from Senator Blunt as well as Representative Hartzler. I'm very excited to say that I was able to speak with the Vice President of the Northrop Grumman mission over the summer, and Representative Hartzler had briefed him and his team on this plan on our behalf. And the response from Northrop was, we do stuff like this all the time. We currently have a partnership very similar to this in a California school, and we're very interested in engagement. So we're starting to gain some traction on this. I'm going to kind of talk you through what this would look like. The value proposition, although it's based in education and what we can do to support the mission, both from a quality of life standpoint as well as support our community through retention of local jobs. The new Mount Auster High School will offer new opportunities for learning with a flexible and agile space that can be modified to meet programs that are changing, whether that's agriculture, business, robotics, ROTC, designing a campus that, again, is flexible and can change as our course throughout the future changes with our curriculum. We know that we have some needs for outdoor facilities. We have a growing youth population. You can see what's happening in our kindergarten. If that continues, I want to talk about youth sports for just a minute. In most traditional schools, youth sports are feeder programs that feed into middle school and high school. In Mount Auster, I would challenge us to think a little bit differently about that, because many of our youth that attend school here are not feeding into our high school programs. So that youth sports experience, to an extent, for many of our students, is a standalone experience. And we need to look at that a little bit differently as well. The third piece is where we tie in Northrop Grumman. We have an attachment to your plan that talks about a tax strategy. We have aligned a very appealing tax strategy for any private investor or partner who would like to come in and help us get this project completed. The market price right now, on the numbers we ran on a graduate that is ready to go into a career tracking a career in manufacturing and STEM and cyber, they say that that's worth about $75,000 to $80,000 right out of the box. So if you look at what the value would be to a Northrop Grumman or a Lockheed or any of our other partners that may be on base, you can tell pretty quickly that 10 graduates at $80,000 a piece can definitely raise some eyebrows in terms of commitment. So we have an aligned strategy where we can shift some of our curriculum to try to align our local military connected jobs to the interests of our local students. Frankly, it's something that probably should have been done, and from our research, we understand that this isn't a very unique proposal after all. It's something that about 18 years ago was in the works with base leadership, and it just didn't happen. It probably should have happened back in the early 90s. It didn't, so we're hoping to try to get this aligned now so that we can pipeline our kids into jobs that keep them local. So that's part 3. Part 4 would be the integrated FEMA safe room. That's going to be a state discretionary fund. Also up here on 2 is the Department of Natural Resources, a state discretionary. And then we have a couple of other items that would be phased in, possibly. There's been a lot of talk about some type of tourism component at Whiteman, be it a heritage center, Whiteman, Knob History Museum. So we have a component there that could be tied into our Performing Arts Center with the target of getting a private partner again to sponsor that piece and help get that in front of our students and community. And then the last is just a possibility when we look at an additional campus. Do we move to a 5-campus setting? You know, it'd be great if we had the growth to demand that, but right now we don't. So we're starting to look at what are some other feasible opportunities that we can look at our existing facilities and repurpose. And one of those would be a possibility of a veterans home and/or senior community center, possibly in this building. That is not a giveaway. That would be a value add to our community into this proposal, but frankly, again, that is a phase-in. This is how the public-private, public-public partnership would look. Again, on number 1 for our high school in the National Defense Authorization Act in 2019, it has been approved now for a total of $39 million that's written into that annual budget, which isn't a lot, but we believe that the first person to reach the finish line on that fund, being that it's a new community pilot infrastructure, may have a very good opportunity of getting that funding. And I like to quote Mr. Corin a lot, but especially on this one. He said, this is going to happen somewhere. He said this many times, but he believes this project is going to happen somewhere. That it makes sense, it's aligned. We just hope that it happens here in Knob. So that's the federal funding that is going to be our ask. Number 2, again, state discretionary on Department of Natural Resources for their land and water conservation fund. Connect that with our outdoor facilities and all the other facilities. The 3, the public-private partnership, again, think of STEM alignment with Northrop Grumman and the Air Force career needs. Number 4, FEMA, again, is going to be, or SEMA, will be a state-level decision with the governor doing the final sign-off. And then 5 and 6, again, we're looking for private partners on that. When we talk about our mission, we not only are committed to academic excellence and serving our students, but our team does understand that we have a unique and a unique obligation and responsibility to also make sure that quality of life for our airmen is good. We talk a lot about when our airmen are out taking care of the nation's business, the last thing that needs to be on their mind is whether or not their kids are taken care of at home. So that is 2/3 of our students out connected to the base. That is something that is part of what we do. Jumping down, just a brief overview of the last couple of years. Board is aware of our $400,000 NIMSY initiative. Last year we received a $1.25 million VIA grant. This year we're awaiting good news on an additional 1.25 to stack these programs into what we're doing. So there are a lot of things happening, and this is good for a lot of reasons, but it's included here to demonstrate that there are people out there, whether it's at the federal level or at the private level, that are interested in investing their funds and their programs in our schools and our students. The other thing that we definitely talk about everywhere we go is what we've embedded into our mission here. Character, citizenship, and patriotism, making sure that above anything else, whether it's academic, sports related, we make sure that we're doing everything we can to produce good citizens that are ready to go out and make a positive impact in our country. The next slides I would go over, again, I want to stress these are preliminary planning. So think of a picture is worth 1,000 words. When we go to private donors, or whether we're in Senator Blunt's office or next week in the governor's office, we're the show me state. So we put together some preliminary conceptual drawings that are nothing more than, at this point, pictures to help hopefully equate to 1,000 positive words in the minds of these decision makers. We have multiple sites that are picked out. Some are feasible possibly, some aren't feasible possibly, but we're just looking at possible sites. The golf course at Royal Oaks is one site that may or may not end up being a viable site. We have our sports complex north of 23. We have multiple sites around that, whether it's in conjunction with the move of our MoDOT hub. It could be all the way around the corner to the east of the complex, or it could be directly to the west across 23 from the complex. So we have probably the most flexibility up at the complex on what that would look like. But again, there's some issues there that would need to be overcome. Then a third alternate site that's in the works, or at least up for consideration, would be the asphalt plant that's at the corner of Division and 23. And that could extend all the way down through where Lou's Alterations and the nice restaurant there next door to that is located. So those are the options. I want to stress to the board, there's a million things here that naysayers could pick apart and criticize. I can tell you that the intent here is to look beyond, frankly, our time here trying to lead and govern the district and try to look down the road 50 to 75 years and see what we can do to set us up for a growth mindset here in the community. I'll end by saying, when you look at what happened with our revitalization efforts downtown, just a little bit of effort and collaboration has put a lot of empty storefronts into businesses that are trying to make something happen. We're not talking a lot of real economic activity, but it is a start of economic activity. And when you talk about economic development and activity, the school district is by and away the largest employer in the district. So what we do to sustain and create jobs is what is going to lead to more households, more dollars circulating through our community and supporting that business development. So that's what we're trying to do. It's a big stretch. I do think we have a high probability of getting a lot of interest and support for this program. And the thing that I want to stress again is this is very untraditional. Most times when a new building is going to be constructed, the Board of Education, we work a plan, we take it to our voters, they voted in and paid for it. In Mount Oscar, I don't think that that's the right approach. It's not fair to ask our taxpayers to go in 3-1 on what other taxpayers do. I do think it's fair to go to our taxpayers and say, the 31st out of 32nd, we probably can work on that a little bit, but by no means do we need to overburden our taxpayers on something like this. So that's why we're trying to go out and find new opportunities. References on the back, we have just a number of links here if you want to click through those to show that there is some growing awareness of what's going on in Mount Oscar and growing support for what we're doing. And we're working very hard to try to bring these opportunities to our community. Feedback is welcome. This is a preliminary overview of what we're trying to put together. And clearly, if we get an initial hard commitment, then we will leverage that and start getting that brass tacks on doing a hard plan with details. Until that time, we need to be cautious. In my mind, I'm being cautious on spending any of our very much money on a proposal that frankly is contingent upon private and federal funding. So I'm taking a cautious approach on that. And that's all I had on the collaboration plan.
Thank you, Dr. Lynn. Thanks for putting that presentation together for us too.
We'll see what the governor says next week. I'm telling you, we have a drought Need some rain.
Make a motion to approve the executive session pursuant to RCO 610.021, 313, Rockville, Oklahoma.
Aye. Thank you.